my yarny friends, I'm Sara Sach, and welcome back to my crochet channel. Now today's video I'm going to show you how to make our spring forward bucket hat. It's a real simple bucket hat to make. If you've never made a bucket hat and you want to try to make one, this is the perfect pattern for that. Now, although this pattern is beginner friendly, I did put it at an easy level because we are going to be doing this row here where we stitch in the back loops only. But it's just basic single crochet, double crochets, and chain one spaces. No tricky pattern at all. You'll love making this. Now, it is made to fit about a 22 to 24 inch head. It is loose. And remember, yarn is stretchy. So if you prefer to have your hats just a little bit tighter, you can always go down a hook size or two. And if you want it even bigger, go up a hook size or two. And remember to measure as you go to get a really nice fit. Because if it's not long enough, you can also add more rows. All right. I love this hat. I can't wait to start wearing it in the garden. Now remember, the complete pattern with pictures is on my blog, and I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. To make our spring forward bucket hat, you just need a few things. Of course, you need some yarn, and this is the yarn that I used. It's called Sundance Scramble. It's from Herrschners, and it takes about 3.5 ounces to make the hat. And isn't it beautiful, the colors? I just fell in love with this. The color of this one is called, let's see, it's called Little Baby. It would make a pretty baby blanket, but I loved all these bright colors because they're not pastel and they're not neon. They're just bright, beautiful colors that I thought was perfect for spring. This is a medium weight number 4 yarn, so you can make this hat with any medium weight number 4 acrylic yarn. You could even use a cotton as long as it's a medium weight number 4 yarn. 3.5 ounces, which is approximately, let's look on here and see, 164 yards. Okay, so basically you need 1 ball of this. We're going to be stitching today with our eye hook, which is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. And you need a button if you want to add a button. You could add a flower, a butterfly, whatever you want, a heart as embellishment, or you don't have to. I'm going to add this beautiful pink button because I think it'd be really cute with these colors. You need a needle for weaving in ends and of course sewing on your button. And then you just need a pair of scissors. I'm going to be working over my gold mat just to make it a little bit easier for you to see because this is a mostly white yarn with just little specks of color. All right, so we're going to begin with our slip knot. We're going to chain 5, join our chain 5 into a circle, and tie that stay knot. Now, as I always say, this is my favorite method of forming a circle, but if you want to use the magic circle or the magic ring or another method of making your ring, it's totally fine. We're going to go in, pull up a loop, and chain 3. All right, so now what we're going to do, our chain 3 counts as 1, and we're going to make 11 more double crochets in this ring. And you'll also notice I'm stitching over that tail of yarn, and that's just so I can close that up when we're done. All right, let's see how many I've stitched. So here's my chain 3, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is 10, 11, and 12. We're going to join to that chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. All right, so for round 1 or row 1, we have 12 double crochets. Now I'm going to turn this over, gently pull on that string to close up that hole, and go ahead and grab my needle and weave this in. You can wait till the end if you want to. I just like to go ahead and get it done. Then I don't have to worry about it. I'm going to make sure that hole is nice and securely closed. Go back and forth through your stitches. All right, I'm going to go ahead and clip that. And so again, for round or row 1, we'll just call it row, I have 12 double crochets joined to my chain 3 and chain 3. All right, let's do row 2. Now for row 2, we're going to double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3, and then we're just going to stitch 2 double crochets in each of those double crochets around. One and 2. Two double crochets in each of our double crochets around, and again join back to our chain 3 and chain 3. We stitched a double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3 and then 2 in each, so we have 24 double crochets. We're going to join to our chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. Now we're ready for row 3. We're going to double crochet again in that same stitch as our chain 3. We're going to chain 1. We're going to skip the next stitch and stitch 2 double crochets in the next. Chain 1, skip the next stitch, and 2 double crochets in the next. Chain 1, skip the next, 2 double crochets in the next. And that's our repeat for round or row 3. Chain 1, skip 1, 2 double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And we'll continue to repeat this all the way around and join back to our chain 3 and chain 3. So I have repeated this all the way around. We have 12 sets of 2 double crochets and 12 chain 1 spaces in between. So that's going to give us 36 stitches. There's my chain 1. I'm going to join to the chain 3 with a slip stitch and chain 3. Now we're going to stitch a double crochet in the same stitch as our first double crochet, which is our chain 3, and then 2 double crochets in the next double crochet. 1 and 2. And then we'll chain 1. We'll skip that chain 1 space and stitch 2 double crochets in each of those next 2 double crochets. And chain 1. So we're stitching 2 double crochets in the 2 double crochets, so that gives us 4. And chain 1. We skip the chain 1 space and repeat. 2 double crochets in each of those 2 double crochets. Chain 1. And repeat all the way around. Again, 2 double crochets in each of those 2. chain 1, skip the chain 1 space. And again, we're going to repeat this all the way around and join back to our chain 3. I have completed round 4 or row 4, whatever you want to call it. We have 48 double crochets, which is 12 sets of 4, and then we have 12 chain 1 spaces in between. All right, so that gives us a total of 60 stitches. We're going to go in that chain 3, join with the slip stitch, and chain 3. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to double crochet in the next double crochet, not the chain 3, but in the next double crochet. We're going to chain 1 and then double crochet in the next 2 double crochets. 1 and 2, and chain 1. We'll skip that chain 1 space. We'll stitch 1 double crochet in the next 2. 1, 2, chain 1, and then 1 double crochet in the next 2. And chain 1. So we're not increasing any of our double crochets. We're just adding an extra chain 1 in between the 4 that are together. So we're chaining 1, we're skipping the chain 1 space, double crocheting in the next 2, 1 and 2, then chain 1 and double crochet in the next 2, 1 and 2, and then chain 1. And we'll repeat this all the way around. I have completed row 5. We still have 48 double crochets. We just have twice as many of our chain 1 spaces because now we did one in between every 2. We joined to our chain 3 and chained 3. Now on this row, row 6, we're not going to be doing any increasing. The thing we're going to do is we're going to be stitching in the back loop only. And we're going to place a double crochet in the back loop of the next double crochet. Now, when you look at the top of your row, you'll see there are loops on this side and loops on this side. We're only going to be stitching in the back loops on the 2 double crochets. So we'll stitch a double crochet in the next 2 in the back loop only, and you'll know you're doing it right because you'll see that row of loops that we didn't stitch in. Chain 1, 1 double crochet in the next 2, stitching in the back loop only, chain 1, and repeat. 1 double crochet in the next 2 back loops only. You'll also start to notice on this row that your hat's going to start curling down. This is the top, and now we're going to start working on the sides of our hat. All right, so for row 6, we're stitching 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets, working in the back loops only, chain 1, 1 double crochet in the next 2 double crochets, working in the back loops only, chain 1. And we'll repeat this all the way around and again join back to our chain 3. So I have completed row 6, and you can see I've got that line all the way around. Now make sure that when you do your hat you curl it down. This is the inside and this is the outside. All right, so now what we're going to do, no more working in the back loop only. We're just going to stitch a double crochet in that next double crochet, chain 1 and 1 double crochet in the next 2. We are not stitching in the back loops only anymore. That was just to give a little edge there on the edge to show that it is a bucket hat. And the truth is, if you don't want to do that row, back loop only, you don't really have to. It just gives it the bucket hat look. All right, so we're stitching a double crochet and the 2 double crochets with chain 1s in between all the way around. And once you get to this point, the bucket hat is a super easy, simple piece of cake. This really is an easy pattern. If you've never done a bucket hat before and you want to do one, this is the pattern to do because it is super easy. All right, so 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets with chain 1s in between, working all the way around, and again, join back to our chain 3. I have completed row 7. We stitched 1 double crochet in each of our double crochets with chain 1s in between. And so now what you're going to do is you're going to continue to repeat row 7 for 6 more rows. No adding or subtracting of any stitches, just 1 double crochet in each double crochet, chain 1 in between, all the way around, and join back to your chain 3 and chain 3. So we're repeating row 7 for 6 more rows. So I have stitched those 7 additional rows. This is the actual hat. The other one I was working on was just a swatch to show you how to get started. So the colors are not exactly lined up the same. This one started with yellow instead of pink, and so the colors aren't lined up exactly the same. But you can see how beautiful those colors are. I just love the colors in this yarn. All right, so I did those additional 6 rows, and that brings us to row 13. Now, it's a good idea maybe at this point to try it on or measure it to see if it comes down long enough, because you can add more rows if maybe you like your hat a little bit longer. Remember, we don't all like our hats the same. I prefer my bucket hats to be just a little bit more loose. Some others may want it a little bit snugger. So keep that in mind when you're stitching up a hat like this. If your hat is coming out just too big and it's not the way you want it, you can always go down a hook size or 2. If it's coming out just a little bit snug, you can always go up a hook size or 2. All right, so now we've stitched down to row 13. We've joined to our chain 3 and we've chained 3. We're going to begin to add the brim of our hat now. So we're going to double crochet in the double crochet and then double crochet in that chain 1 space. Double crochet in the 2 double crochets and double crochet in the chain 1 space. So what we're doing here is just making a solid row of double crochets around. 1 double crochet in each of the double crochets and 1 double crochet in each of the chain 1 spaces. Like I said, we're just making a solid row of double crochet all the way around our hat, and then we'll join back to that chain 3. I have completed row 14, that solid row of double crochets. I joined to my chain 3 and chained 3. Now on this row, we're going to make this row flare out just a little bit to get that bucket look brim. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to double crochet in the next 4 stitches. And that gives us 5 double crochets because our chain 3 counts as our first and we stitched 4 more. In the next stitch, we're going to stitch 2 double crochets, 1 and 2. And that's going to be our repeat. 1 double crochet in the next 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 double crochets in the next. 1 and 2. And it's not going to give us a lot of flare, just enough to give it that bucket look. All right, so 1 double crochet in the next 5. There's 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then 2 double crochets in the next 1 and 2. All right, it's going to flare out a little bit, but not a lot. Now, a bucket hat doesn't have ripples in it, so 1 double crochet in the next 5, and then 2 in the next, and repeat all the way around and join back to that chain 3. I have completed that row, stitching 5 double crochets and then 2 in the next all the way around. And see how it made it flare out just a little bit, just enough to give it that bucket hat look? So after we joined to our chain 3, we only chained 1 because we just have 1 more row to do. And our last row is just 1 single crochet in each of those double crochets around. And that's just going to give it a nice edge so it doesn't stretch out too much when we're wearing it. Because remember, yarn is very stretchy, especially acrylic yarns are very stretchy. And that's another thing to keep in mind when you're making hats, that yarn is stretchy. All right, so all we're doing on this last row is stitching 1 single crochet in each of the double crochets all the way around for just a nice edge on the brim of our bucket hat. I have completed that last row of 1 single crochet in each of my double crochets around. So I'm going to join to that first single crochet with a slip stitch and cut my yarn. Then I'll go in that next loop and pull that loop to the back so we have a nice finish on the front of our hat. And then of course I'm going to weave this end in. And then I'm going to show you how to add a fun button if you want to. You don't have to add a button. That's totally up to you. All right, I'm going to add this big button because I like big buttons. And I don't want to put it too far down. I want to put it about right there. I would say just up above that first solid row of double crochets. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that I go in some stitches. And I'm going to make a loop. There we go. And I'm going to make a couple of stitches in that first set since I've got 2 sets. Now you can put an X in here if you want to. I'm just not on this one. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's totally up to you how you want to do it. The main thing is when you're stitching a button on to crochet or knit, that you want to go through stitches and not holes. See how I'm going through the stitches? And that's just going to give you a better hold. Now this is just decorative, so I'm not worried about it being buttoned and unbuttoned, but I do want it to stay secure. And it is a rather big button. All right, so I'm going to take this one where I made my first loop, bring it to the back here. And now I'm just going to tie some knots to hold my button in place. And this would look cute with lots of different kinds of buttons. You could do 2 or 3 smaller buttons. You could do wooden buttons. And of course, it depends on the color of yarn you've chosen to make it out of. I would have put a big yellow button on here, but I couldn't find one. And so I decided to go with a big pink button. And I really love this hat. And I can't wait to start wearing it when I'm working out in the garden. It has holes in it to keep me cool and a little bit of a brim to keep the sun off my forehead.